Hi, world. What up? We're going to be covering here the Stephen A. and Max Kellerman First Take Show. Molly Curran is the head host. I don't know why she's still the host, man. She's been nagging back and forth the past couple of years. They should have let her go ever since she got with Jalen Rose and got married. Whatever. We got Jay Williams right here as a side guest, pretty much talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo basically in 2021. Basically, a season from now later, he's going to be a free agent, unrestricted. He can choose wherever he wants to go. Really, there's a lot of factors that come into it. If the Bucks win the championship, he's going to stay with Milwaukee. I don't think it's the NBA's best interest that Milwaukee wins. I actually have the Milwaukee Bucks going to be in 2020 NBA Finals. I think he's going to lose to either the Clippers or Lakers. Preferably for me, I got the Lakers beating them. That's another subject for another day. But Giannis is going to leave in 2021. The pressure is going to be on him. He's going to be around 26, 27 years of age. And usually during that time period, if it's your seventh or eighth season in the league, you haven't won a championship and you're a star player, the pressure is going to be on you. I really think players like George Hill, Wesley Matthews, Brook Lopez, Eric Bledsoe, they'll start to depreciate. Not heavily, but the Milwaukee Bucks, they're not going to be a contender when it comes to it. And you have Chris Middleton stuck in that contract. You're not going to bring any other stars. So I think the window will be closed after 2021 for the Milwaukee Bucks to be as a true threat, because you do have the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant. You have Philadelphia 76ers. They're going to retool. The Miami Heat are always going to be knocking on the door. And the Boston Celtics, of course. Listen, there's a couple teams he can go to. I don't think he'll go to a young team. He has to go to pretty much a contending team that pretty much needs to have the fit for him, instant contention. Everything is pointing towards the Miami Heat. You have Pat Riley and the crew. They've done it with the Big Three back in 2010 with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. They do have the cap space. You have Jimmy Butler as a side piece who can be moved down to the number 2 option. He will be 31 years of age, and they'll gladly take Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that's his best bet. They can also bring in Victor Oladipo or Bradley Beal. But let's just jump into it. I know there's other franchises, pretty much like the Atlanta Hawks are gonna have cap space. I really doubt he wants to join Trae Young in a team like that. That's still a good spot in the Eastern Conference. You can probably look at the Dallas Mavericks. I know Luka is pretty much an MVP candidate as well. Same thing with Giannis year after year. So he could go to Dallas. They may have to move KP depending if they have the cap space or not. He can go to Toronto. I don't really see that in his case in that favor, but it would still be a pick. They do need a small forward coming into it. The Lakers, that's not going to happen. There's not really a lot of significant teams, but those are pretty much the top 3, top 4 I kind of see. I think Miami's the way to go, to be honest. But let's see what these cats have to say here.
Biggest threat to Giannis in the Bucks in the East. Biggest threat to Giannis in the Bucks in the East.
Well, for me, it would be the Miami Heat. I don't anticipate that anybody will be Milwaukee, but as a team in terms of the biggest threat, I go with the Miami Heat because I look at the fact that in the 2 meetings they played them this year, they beat them. That's not a big deal. Last time they played was in January, if I remember correctly. And I think the first time they beat them was like the second or fourth game of the season when Jimmy Butler wasn't even there. But I just look at Miami's perimeter shooting. A guy like Duncan Robinson pulling up from the parking lot, shooting nearly 45% from 3. Tyler Hero shooting 40%, nearly 40% from 3. The Goran Dragics of the world, the Kendrick Nuns of the world, 36, 37% from 3-point range. The ability to close things out with a Bam Adebayo, considering his energy, particularly on the defensive end, along with the collection of bodies that they've got to throw at the Greek Freak, and they have the athleticism and quickness to get out and defend against Milwaukee's perimeter.
Yeah, I think Miami would be a perfect destination. Imagine a starting five of Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson at the 2, Jimmy Butler playing the 3, Giannis at the 4th, and Bam Adebayo at the 5. That team right there is lengthy. They're going to be great on defense. They have the grit and grind, usually with Pat Riley installating that championship degree on the team. You do have Eric Spoelstra, who's been a head coach for the past decade or so, since around 2008, 2009. So he knows how to run a championship team. I think this is the preferred destination for Giannis. This gives a championship mentality of a franchise, let alone you do have a hungry cat. That Jimmy Butler would be a perfect second second star player alongside with Giannis, who can take over in the clutch. No credit or no knock on Chris Middleton. He doesn't have those moments as much. He's had it a couple times in the playoffs and in the regular season, but Jimmy Butler just takes it to another level. I think this will be huge for Giannis if he doesn't develop that mid-range jumper.
The shooters, because we all know that Milwaukee can shoot the basketball. I think the
Shooters, because we all know that Milwaukee can shoot the basketball. I think the combination of those things makes Miami a significant threat. Also, the fact that they're playing with house money because nobody would expect anything from them. Combined with the fact that I think the Andre Iguodala and Jay Crowder pickups were significant. Now that might compromise you to some degree because they're on the floor, and as a result, Hero and Duncan Robinson are not on the floor. Then you compromise some of your shooting for some of the defensive prowess and experience that they could give you. But I got faith in Eric Spoelstra in terms of his ability to figure things out.
They do have Iguodala's contract, which is going to expire at the end of next season. It's a team option, so they're going to let him go into free agency, but they'll want to sign him as a one-year deal, a veteran's minimum. I think Iguodala will let that happen for his last season for the Miami Heat to win a championship if it is in 2022. Listen, whenever you bring in Giannis on the team and you have a bunch of veterans, you have another all-star player into Jimmy Butler, you're going to get veterans who's going to take the minimum to go to Miami when it comes down to it. The only other teams in contention are going to be the Brooklyn Nets. They may have won a championship by then in 2021. Who knows? You're going to have the Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers, but the Miami Heat would be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, alongside depending on how Brooklyn shapes up the next following season. But it'll be definitely the Miami Heat.
That's why I look at Miami as a bona fide threat against Milwaukee.
That's why I look at Miami as a bona fide threat against Milwaukee, more so than anybody else in the Eastern Conference.
Respect that pick. I think that Miami makes a
respectfully,
lot
because I
of good
respect
arguments
that
there.
pick.
But I don't
think that Miami makes a lot of good arguments there. But I don't think that that's
Real quickly before he goes, I say Miami is because you have a bunch of mature players on the team and the franchise, let alone you have a bunch of young cats. It's the perfect scenario for Giannis Antetokounmpo, let alone you have Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra with a championship degree in DNA. So if he doesn't win a championship with Milwaukee, when he's pretty much being forced to leave to a franchise, Miami is a big franchise, let alone they have championship experience degree, and everything points down to security to win a championship. If you're looking to Atlanta, it's a very young team and franchise. Kind of the same thing with the Dallas Mavericks. Plus, you have Luka, who's pretty much the main guy. I know if he goes to Milwaukee or if he goes to Atlanta, Trae Young would take on the second role, which could be an option. But you have a bunch of young cats. That's probably going to be another 2-3 year experiment in there. If he goes to Toronto, we don't know if Kyle Lowry, how he's going to be. I think he'll be around 36, 37 years of age. They're probably not going to keep Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and you would have to build around him and Pascal Siakam, which could happen. But I just think Miami's the way to go. Miami doesn't have to bring in Bradley Beal or Victor Oladipo. If you just run with Jimmy Butler, Giannis, and the crew with Bam Adebayo and a bunch of veterans, they'll be good to go to take on the conference finals.
reason is you got to match up with Milwaukee with one guy. Really.
reason is you got to match up with Milwaukee with one guy.
As you pointed out,
You got to match up.
pick him up early before he gets ahead of
As
steam,
you
right?
pointed
As
out,
Kawhi
they'd be
Leonard
able to
did.
pick him up
And then you
early
gotta be
before he
able-
gets ahead of
that
steam,
alone
right?
is
As
not
Kawhi Leonard
Then
did.
Kawhi did the
And
best
then you got to
job
be able.
humanly possible.
That
Kept
alone
his
is not
shooting
enough.
percentages
That
and-
Kawhi
and
did the
decent
best job
scoring
humanly
as-
possible,
scoring
kept his shooting
as
percentages
low as
and
possible for a
decent
primary
scoring
defender to do it.
scoring
But then you
efficiency
gotta funnel
as
him
low
into
as it's
big,
possible for a
right?
primary
So you need
defender
that
to do it.
matchup. And while
But then
Jimmy
you got to
Butler
funnel
and
him into
Bam
big,
match up that
right?
way,
So you
they
need
have
that matchup.
talent
While
and they have
Jimmy
a lot of
Butler
heart.
and Bam
They don't
match
have
up
the
that way,
size that
they have
Ben
talent
Simmons
and they have a lot of
and
heart.
Embiid do.
They don't
Ben
have the
Simmons has
size
been
that Ben
all
Simmons and
universe
Embiid
defender
do.
this year,
Ben
and
Simmons
is
has been
just
an
the kind of
all
guy
universal
who could pick
defender
him up
this year
early
and is
funnel
just
him
the
right way
kind
to
of
the best
guy
job
who
humanly
could pick him up
possible.
early and
Embiid is
funnel
the
him
guy
the
who
right way
can
to the
lead him
best
in the
job humanly
paint.
possible.
If he's about to
And
say the
Embiid is
Philadelphia
guy who can
76ers, that's ideal. But the thing with Philadelphia is they don't have the cap space. I don't know how they're going to let go of Al Horford's contract, Tobias Harris's, then a little ones like Josh Richardson at $10 million. But you got around $40 to $50 million based on those two players. Actually, no, my bad. It's around 50 to 60 because Tobias Harris is making $30 million a year, and Al Horford's making around 20 to 25. So that's around 50 to 60 million. I don't see Giannis going to go there. I mean, that's a good pick. Don't get me wrong. You can put Giannis on the 76ers. Oh, good Lord. Man, that's going to be a crazy team for the next 5 seasons. And plus, they're young. I don't see this to happen in the NBA. I think it's more ideal he'll go to Miami because Philadelphia, they got to get their coaching issue on check. Brett Brown will be gone by then. And let alone with Simmons, and you do have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I think Ben Simmons is chill enough to be a third option. Maybe. I know second option for sure. But they're not going to have the cap space. If they did have the cap space, it'll be between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. I still would pick Miami for Giannis to choose instead, if that were the case.
They have, and both of their talents are pitched incredibly
They
high.
have, and both of their talents are pitched incredibly high. In terms of the pitch of their talent, I'm not talking about heart and all that stuff. The pitch of their talent higher than Butler and Adebayo. Now, when you talk about the other pieces on the Sixers, no, they don't have the shooting Miami. They don't. Although Tobias Harris can play offense. But other than Harris, they have defense everywhere you look. And by the way, they came out to Shake Milton, who's an actual player. He's not just like one of these guys who he has a starring role for a minute. He's passable. Shake can play. He can do that, and that's why you can put Simmons at the dunker spot. The real issue with the Sixers has been amazingly, right, that they can't play Embiid and Horford together. And so Horford has to go to the bench, right? It has to be Simmons and Embiid starting in the front court.
That would be wild for the NBA and crazy if he were actually just signed to the 76ers. So Ben Simmons, they're talking about him being to the power forward. If Giannis joins, he's going to go back to the point guard. Shooting guard, you can find someone on a veteran minimum. Then Giannis at the 3 or maybe at the 4. Actually, yeah, he'll be at the 4. Joel Embiid at the 5. And you just need 3-and-D guys, veterans.
Damn, that's a guy to bring off your bench. Horford, when he's not in the way, but he can do his thing. And also, by the way, do the same thing. Defend the paint. They have the size and the style, I think, to match.
We're here with Jay says.
And now there's no.
I think, to match.
No, but I agree. I mean, Philadelphia is the way to go for an option.
And a lot of people are going to question his health, but if he's healthy, he's one of the most dominant players there is in the NBA. Now, a lot of people are going to try to use the regular season record by saying they were atrocious on the road, and that counter-argument is, well, okay, none of these games are on the road, nor are they at home. They're at a neutral site. And Ben Simmons is relentless on the ball. With that type of ball pressure, his size is 6'10", his footwork, his dexterity, the way they dig down and he defends, that is the kind of relentless defender you want on Giannis, right? It makes sense. And plus, I like the fact that I'm not saying I believe in Brad Brown over I believe in Coach Bud, but I like the fact that Brett Brown, has ultimately put, when you think about Ben Simmons, at that 4 spot, right? It causes a lot of nightmare matchups for other teams because then you're trying to worry about, you have to...
If you're a team going against the 76ers with those big 3, you're going to have nightmare issues. And they're going to be one of the best top 3, top 5 best defensive teams in the NBA. Most likely top 3 when it comes down to it. I mean, Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Giannis, they're 6'10" and above, which is crazy. And you're probably going to have to bring in some 3-and-D players that can be able to pretty much hit the 3 and defend, pretty much hit it all up on. But I think this is actually pretty ideal the more I'm kind of thinking about it. Ben Simmons is very nonchalant. He doesn't like to score in the front court. Whenever it's on the fast break, that's a different scenario. But pretty much he can just feed Giannis all day. Same thing with Joel Embiid. I know there's talks of rumors of potentially splitting Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. But if you were to bring Giannis on the squad and somehow let go of Tobias Harris, Al Horford, you have to throw in some picks for another team to eat that up. They'll make that work. They'll include those 3 guys all at once.
Respect to Shake Milton because he averaged 18 over that 10-game stint. Like he's shooting the ball well from the outside, and he's another really good defender. So is Josh Richardson, another really good defender. Tobias Harris can potentially knock down shots from the outside. I'm not saying that the 76ers are going to go all the way there to the Eastern Conference Finals, but if they do happen to match up early against the Bucks, that is a matchup I don't think the Bucks want to see. Now the question is, can the 76ers score enough points to match that ultimately with the Bucks? But the one thing I have seen from the scrimmages over the last couple of weeks is that defensively, this might have benefited the 76ers more than any other team in the Eastern Conference.
Overall, there's two franchises that pretty much bring it up and everyone's looking at if Giannis were to leave. I've heard some talks of Philadelphia, which we'll throw in there in this scenario. The Miami Heat for sure. You can look into the Mavericks, the Hawks, and Raptors. I don't really see those falling through. I think Atlanta makes sense, though, because you have Trae Young, a young star, who can be able to be the second option. And let alone with that, they have the cap space, but they're a young team. And I know when it comes to Giannis, they're looking for, or he's looking. So basically, I think Miami Heat is the number one option to go with. Comes naturally to how he plays and literally, a franchise that makes sense, mature-wise championship degree. If he wants to change it to pretty much form a quote-unquote super team, Philadelphia is a way to go. We have to study more of Giannis and how this season and the next season plays out. But, hey, let me know what you guys think down below. I think Miami is pretty much the go-to. But Philadelphia, if they can clear that cap space, it's entertaining, and let alone it's a pretty good option.